Jiraiya vs Kakuzu, a Sannin versus an Akatsuki member. Who would win this fight? Well, let's start by comparing the two characters' physical capabilities. None of the two are speedsters by any means. Of course, they're not slow, but speed's not really what these two characters are focused during combat. Kakuzu had a somewhat lengthy exchange with beginning of Shippuden Kakashi, and he eventually came out on top, even though he had his mobile hearts helping him out. Base Jiraiya doesn't have many physical feats. I think the most notable one is that he was relative to Orochimaru, even though I would argue Orochimaru was better at taijutsu than base Jiraiya, seeing that when they fought each other on the three-way deadlock, Orochimaru kinda manhandled Jiraiya with his tongue. Jiraiya was very heavily injured by Four Tails version 2 QB as well, while Orochimaru did much better with a body that was expiring. Sure, many people will say that Jiraiya wasn't trying to kill Naruto, and that's true, but Orochimaru wasn't trying to kill him either, and that's evident when Orochimaru stopped Sasuke from destroying Team 7 with Kirin. The fact is that Jiraiya was almost killed by version 2 QB while Orochimaru stalemated it, and both characters were trying their best to contain the QB. Regardless, I think both Sannins are relative to each other in taijutsu, and I think Kakuzu, with his experience being over 100 years old, would be able to match base Jiraiya in a taijutsu fight. But if I were to pick someone who is slightly superior than the other in taijutsu, I would probably pick Jiraiya. Even though Kakuzu was able to hold a punch from the full two tails, I think Jiraiya is faster than him, and I say that mostly because Kakuzu got blitzed by early Shippuden base Naruto twice during their battle, and then Naruto was far inferior to Jiraiya in every single aspect but one. Naruto had a more powerful jutsu in his arsenal than any of Jiraiya's jutsus in the Rasen Shuriken, but Jiraiya was better than that Naruto at everything else. Still, I don't really see this battle being resolved with taijutsu, regardless of who you think has the advantage in this physical fight. Both Jiraiya and Kakuzu are very much ninjutsu specialists, meaning that ninjutsu itself would be their primary weapon of choice. First off, Jiraiya's more standard ninjutsu, his fire style, would be completely ineffective against Kakuzu's stone skin, seeing that he tanked a fireball from the full two tails and was completely unscathed. That's the thing about Kakuzu. His stone skin is pretty powerful and tanky, withstanding attacks from the two tails, paper bomb explosions, and Choji's ball of spikes without any issues. Jiraiya would also have to destroy all 5 hearts to win the battle, making this a pretty difficult task. Kakuzu's elemental ninjutsu is pretty powerful. However, if Team Asuma and Kakashi were able to counter his ninjutsu time and time again, I don't see why Jiraiya wouldn't be able to do the same. Sure, you can argue Kakashi had a better set of abilities to properly counter those attacks, being able to cut through Kakuzu's lightning with his Raikiri and block fire attacks with water style. However, we also saw Kakashi outright dodging wind style attacks and other attacks, and I think Jiraiya would be able to dodge many of them as well. And if you're not subscribed and enjoy these types of videos, subscribe to the channel right now so you don't miss anything in the future. Also, like this video to help me out in the battle against the YouTube algorithm. Okay, back to the video. The main issue here for Jiraiya is that Kakuzu would be able to have and use his 4 mobile hearts chasing Jiraiya, and even though one heart may not be able to do so much damage by itself and not catch Jiraiya with its ninjutsu, combining all 4 mobile hearts would be very dangerous, even for Jiraiya. Remember that in the fight against Team Asuma and Kakashi, Kakuzu started the battle with only 3 mobile hearts because Kakashi took one by surprise with the Raikiri, but in this fight against Jiraiya, we're assuming they're both starting at maximum power. In order to counter the attacks from the multiple hearts, Jiraiya could employ several strategies, but it doesn't mean they would be 100% effective. First off, he could use his hairstyle jutsu to both attack and defend simultaneously, and that hair attack can be very powerful, being able to tear apart that lobster paint summoned against Jiraiya. I'm not sure if the hair would be able to destroy mobile hearts, seeing that they are very tanky as well, being, struck by Choji and coming out unscathed. Giant Choji, by the way. The mobile hearts can also assume different shapes to just dodge attacks, meaning they are very hard to hit. I think they would be able to evade most of the hair attacks from Jiraiya. I'm also sure that the hair attacks wouldn't do much against Kakuzu's stone skin. Jiraiya could also use his shadow hiding jutsu to avoid the attacks and try to catch Kakuzu off guard and just escape the mobile heart's attacks. However, Kakuzu is pretty smart and would eventually figure out that trick. The best option for Jiraiya really would be to use his large summons like Gamabunte to create some distance between himself and the hearts, and use the summons to make an opening in Kakuzu's defenses, and I think that strategy would be fairly effective. I'm not sure if the large summons would be able to outright destroy any of Kakuzu's hearts. I wouldn't say so, it's probably difficult for them, but they would certainly help Jiraiya out, distracting the hearts. Also, if for any reason Jiraiya manages to trap Kakuzu in the frog's stomach, he would win the fight then and there. Still, that's not a jutsu he can use whenever he wants. He has to trap the enemy in the right location, otherwise he would have just used that jutsu against any foe he encountered, especially against Pain and Orochimaru, which he couldn't beat, and that jutsu would be very helpful if he could just use whenever he wanted. So even though this is a possible one-shot ability, it's not something easy to pull off, like hitting someone with a Matarasu, for example. Now, the big question: would Jiraiya's base Rasengan be able to break through Kakuzu's stone skin or destroy the mobile hearts? That's a tough question. We know Chidori can pierce through Kakuzu's skin without a problem, however we know stone is weak against lightning, and that may be the only reason why it happened. The regular Rasengan, however, doesn't have a nature transformation, meaning the stone skin would work at full capacity. We also know that all things being equal, a base Rasengan is more powerful than a base Chidori, and we saw that explicitly when both Naruto and Sasuke hit those water tanks and the Rasengan opened a much larger hole. So base Jiraiya's Rasengan is probably fairly more powerful than beginning of Shippuden Kakashi's Chidori or Raikiri. Jiraiya at that stage was more powerful than Kakashi, and the Rasengan is naturally more powerful than the Chidori. I think that's a pretty fair assumption to make. So, what would win? The Raikiri being a weaker jutsu but being much more effective against the stone skin, or the Rasengan being a stronger jutsu but having to contend against the full power of the stone skin? It's a very difficult question. I honestly think the Raikiri has the upper hand here. You see, the Rasengan sure is powerful, but Kakuzu was just fine after being punched by the two tails and surviving a battle against it with no injuries. Therefore, I don't think a base Rasengan would be able to break through the skin, but you can certainly argue otherwise too. I mean, Jiraiya's Rasengan is very powerful, and maybe if he hits Kakuzu with a Rasengan combo, the stone skin would just crumble. That's sad. Would Jiraiya be able to destroy the mobile hearts with his Rasengan? Well, to destroy them, you would have to hit those strange masks right in the middle of their faces. That's how Kakashi destroyed the water heart first with the Raikiri. So, would the Rasengan be able to do that? I think that's very likely. Even though Kakashi never tried to directly destroy the masks after Kakuzu bamfed his hearts out, and mostly went after Kakuzu's real body, that may be because he had to save his chakra. Jiraiya wouldn't have the same problem because he'd just have much more chakra at his disposal, and with the help of his summons to alleviate the pressure of the 5 hearts, that would probably be able to give him an opportunity to destroy the hearts with the Rasengan. Now, if you assume Jiraiya can destroy the hearts and pierce Kakuzu's skin with a regular Rasengan, then it's GG. He wins mid-difficulty, and if you assume he can destroy the hearts but not pierce through the stone skin, I think as soon as Jiraiya destroys the first mobile heart, Kakuzu would do what he did in the original series when a mobile heart was destroyed and fused the surviving hearts all together in what we can call Kakuzu's final form. If you don't count the heart Kakashi destroyed by sneaking up on Kakuzu, Team Asuma was only able to destroy 1 more heart, and as soon as that happened, Kakuzu fused. You can also assume that Jiraiya wouldn't be able to destroy the mobile hearts nor pierce the skin with the Rasengan, meaning the battle will be much more complicated for him. Regardless, if we go any of the 2 scenarios where Jiraiya's Rasengan is not completely effective and he doesn't win the battle outright, I think the 2 would probably enter a stalemate. Of course, there's always a chance Kakuzu could land an impressive combo with his hearts by learning Jiraiya's battle patterns, finding an opening and defeating him, but talking about their intellect, I believe they're pretty evenly matched in that regard. Jiraiya did pretty well against Pain figuring out his abilities, and Kakuzu seemed to be fairly intelligent as well. However, I think Kakuzu may have a slightly better battle IQ just because he has much more experience than Jiraiya, but nothing that would completely change the course of the battle. However, Jiraiya still has an ace up his sleeve, Sage Mode. I think if he saw the battle becoming difficult and Kakuzu taking most of his attacks and tanking them, he wouldn't hesitate to enter Sage Mode. After all, Kakuzu is an Akatsuki member, the organization that threatens the existence of Konoha and the ninja world. Even though summoning Ma and Pa takes a decent amount of time, I think Jiraiya would be able to use his summons to keep Kakuzu at bay for a while, even though he would have to fight very defensively. And if there is a chance for Kakuzu to strike and kill Jiraiya, it would be at that moment. And yeah, Jiraiya was able to fend off Pain while doing so, but it was only one path, even though that multi-headed dog was very nasty. Still, I think Gamabunta could just hop away as fast as he can and give Jiraiya the time he needs to summon Ma and Pa. And let's be real, once that happens, Kakuzu is simply done for. Jiraiya's strength, speed, and durability increase substantially in Sage Mode, and he also gets help from Ma and Pa. And he has a massive Rasengan, which I have no doubt in my mind would destroy Kakuzu's mobile hearts and the stone skin as well. And to top it off, Ma and Pa have their frog and jutsu that could easily be a one-shot ability against Kakuzu. Unless Kakuzu is able to use his mobile hearts to shake his real body out of a genjutsu. I don't know if that's possible or if the hearts would be put in the genjutsu as well, but that would be a cool way to use the mobile hearts, you know? Nevertheless, even if that works, Kakuzu would be absolutely overwhelmed by Sage Jiraiya. If we assume that the regular Rasengan wouldn't be terribly effective against Stone Skin Kakuzu, Jiraiya would have to enter Sage Mode to defeat him, and if you think the normal Rasengan would be enough to break through Kakuzu's defenses, then Jiraiya wouldn't need Sage Mode to win. Sure, Kakuzu might get lucky and land a combo with his elemental ninjutsu and beat Jiraiya, but I see Jiraiya taking this battle mid-difficulty under normal circumstances. Watch this video right here for another versus battle, and if you came this far, make sure that you're subscribed to the channel and like this video. Comment below what you think about this match, I'd love to hear your opinions. Thanks for watching.